Before you speak, ask yourself this one question: will my words protect my destiny or expose it? Many lives are not destroyed by enemies, but by mouths that speak too soon. There are battles you are fighting today that silence could have prevented. Come, not every vision God gives you needs an audience. Some need protection. If you learn when to stay quiet, come, you will learn when to rise with power. Stay with this message, because one careless sentence can delay years of progress. There is a dimension of wisdom that is rarely celebrated in a loud generation, and that dimension is the wisdom of silence. Many people pray for elevation, influence, and results, yet few are trained in discipline that preserves those blessings. The ability to keep quiet is not weakness, it is strength under control. In the realm of destiny, not everything revealed to you is meant to be announced by you. Some things are given to you as seeds, and seeds must be buried in silence before they can manifest in power. One of the greatest errors people make is confusing revelation with permission to speak. Just because you know something does not mean you should say something. Knowledge without timing can destroy what wisdom was meant to build. Many destinies have been aborted, not by enemies, but by loose tongues. The mouth can open doors, but it can also open gates to unnecessary battles that you were never designed to fight at that stage of your life. Silence protects process. When God begins a work in a person, he often hides it before he reveals it. There are seasons where your progress must be private so that your strength can mature without pressure. When you speak too early, you expose yourself to opinions, jealousy, doubt, and spiritual resistance that you do not yet have the capacity to manage. There are battles you attract simply because you spoke when you should have been quiet. You must understand that not everyone has the spiritual capacity to handle the information God gives you. Some people will hear your vision and reduce it to their own limitations. Others will hear it and compete with you unnecessarily. Some will pray against it, not because they are evil, but because they do not understand it. Wisdom teaches you to protect what is precious by limiting access to it. Keeping secrets is not dishonesty, it is discernment. There is a difference between lying and withholding information. Jesus himself did not speak everything he knew at every time. He chose moments, audiences, and seasons. This teaches us that silence is not emptiness, silence is strategy. When you speak less, you hear more. When you talk less, you discern more. Noise often drowns direction. Your mouth has the power to leak spiritual energy. Every time you explain yourself unnecessarily, you lose strength. Every time you defend what God is still building, you weaken the structure. Strong people do not rush to announce their next move. They allow results to speak. They understand that explanation is cheap, but manifestation is undeniable. Learn to keep your mouth shut until your fruit is visible. Let your growth be louder than your announcements. There is a dignity that comes with silence, a confidence that does not need validation. When God trusts you with secrets, he is testing your maturity. Those who cannot keep small secrets cannot be trusted with great destinies. Silence is not passive, it is active trust. It says you believe God enough to let him defend, reveal, and promote you in his time. In a world addicted to speaking, the wise will stand out by knowing when not to. The power of silence as a spiritual discipline is deeply misunderstood in a world that rewards constant expression, instant reactions, and unfiltered speech. Silence is not merely the absence of words. It is an intentional posture of restraint, awareness, and inner alignment. When practiced deliberately, silence becomes a training ground for wisdom, because it forces a person to think before speaking, to observe before reacting, and to discern before responding. In spiritual growth, discipline is not always about what you do, but often about what you refuse to do. And silence is one of the highest forms of that refusal. Words carry weight, direction, and consequence. Every time a person speaks, something is released, whether faith, doubt, fear, pride, or confusion. Silence trains the spirit to recognize the value of words by reducing careless speech. When a person learns to remain quiet, they begin to realize how often speech is driven by emotion rather than understanding. Silence creates a buffer between impulse and expression, allowing wisdom to intervene before damage is done. This is why silence is closely linked to maturity. Immature people speak to feel relief. The disciplined people remain silent to preserve purpose. As a spiritual discipline, silence sharpens perception. When the mouth is closed, the mind becomes more attentive and the spirit more sensitive. Many people struggle to hear divine direction, not because guidance is absent, but because internal and external noise is overwhelming. Silence reduces this noise and creates space for clarity. In quietness, patterns become visible, motives are exposed, and truth becomes harder to ignore. Silence forces a person to confront their own thoughts without distraction, which is uncomfortable but necessary for growth. Silence also protects spiritual energy. Talking excessively drains strength because every explanation, argument, or unnecessary disclosure consumes emotional and mental resources. A disciplined silence conserves this energy and redirects it toward action, prayer, and preparation. This is why people who speak less often appear more composed and focused. They are not leaking strength through constant verbal output. In spiritual matters, preservation is as important as acquisition, and silence plays a key role in safeguarding what is still developing. Another dimension of silence as wisdom is its ability to prevent self-sabotage. Many setbacks are not caused by external opposition, but by self-inflicted exposure. Speaking prematurely about plans, revelations, or progress invites pressure, criticism, and resistance that may disrupt timing. Silence allows ideas and callings to mature without interference. Wisdom understands that not every truth needs an audience, and not every revelation needs a response. Silence becomes a shield that keeps fragile beginnings from unnecessary harm. Silence also cultivates humility. When a person does not feel compelled to always be heard, they demonstrate security that is not dependent on validation. This humility attracts wisdom because it removes the need to impress or prove. In silence, pride loses its voice and patience takes its place. A silent person learns to wait, to trust, and to submit to process without demanding recognition. This inner posture aligns the heart with higher principles and deeper understanding. In relational and spiritual conflicts, silence often carries more authority than argument. Arguments escalate because both sides are trying to dominate with words. But silence disarms tension and exposes the true nature of the situation. It allows time for reflection and prevents regretful statements that cannot be withdrawn. Wisdom recognizes that not every battle is won by speaking, and not every accusation deserves a response. Silence chooses peace over ego and strategy over emotion. Silence also trains discernment by teaching when speech is truly necessary. A person disciplined in silence does not become mute, but becomes selective. When they speak, Their words carry weight because they are rare, intentional, and considered. People listen more carefully to those who do not speak carelessly. This is how silence amplifies authority. It reduces noise so that meaning becomes clearer. Ultimately, silence as a spiritual discipline reshapes character from the inside out. It builds patience, self-control, clarity, and depth. It shifts a person from reaction to reflection and from impulse to intention. In silence, wisdom is not rushed, truth is not diluted, and strength is not wasted. The danger of premature disclosure of visions, plans, and revelations is one of the most overlooked causes of failure and delay in personal and spiritual growth. When a vision is first received, it is often in its most vulnerable state. At that stage, it exists more as potential than as proof, and potential requires protection. The speaking to only exposes something that has not yet developed the strength to stand against scrutiny, misunderstanding, or opposition. What was meant to grow quietly can be damaged simply by being talked about before its time. Every vision carries a process, and that process demands privacy. When people disclose their plans prematurely, they often invite voices that are not assigned to shape that vision. Some will respond with doubt, others with advice that is based on fear rather than insight, and some with subtle jealousy. Even well-meaning opinions can distort clarity when they are introduced too early. Instead of nurturing the vision, premature discussion can fragment focus and weaken conviction, leaving the person confused about what they originally knew with certainty. Another danger of early disclosure is the pressure it creates to perform. Once something is announced, there is an unspoken expectation to produce results quickly. This pressure can push a person to act before they are ready, to skip important preparation stages, or to compromise quality for speed. Growth that is rushed rarely lasts. When timing is violated, outcomes may appear successful on the surface, but lack the depth and stability required for longevity. Premature disclosure also attracts unnecessary resistance. Not every opposition is spiritual warfare. Some battles are self-invited through careless speech. When plans are shared too soon, they become targets for criticism, competition, and sabotage. Some people will consciously walk against you, while others may unconsciously project their own insecurities onto your vision. This added resistance drains energy that should have been invested in development, not defense. There is also a spiritual consequence to speaking too early. Their visions and revelations often require internal alignment before external manifestation. Speaking ahead of preparation can disconnect a person from the patience and obedience needed to fulfill what was shown. Instead of partnering with the process, they begin to chase the promise. This shift from stewardship to urgency weakens discipline and increases the likelihood of error. Premature disclosure can also lead to misinterpretation. A vision shared in its early stages is often incomplete and symbolic. When communicated too soon, it may be misunderstood by both the speaker and the listener. The speaker may later gain clearer understanding and feel trapped by earlier statements that no longer fully represent the direction. This creates confusion and sometimes forces people to defend ideas that were never meant to be final. Another subtle danger is the loss of personal responsibility. When visions are shared too widely, they can become conversational topics rather than personal assignments. Talking can create a false sense of progress, as if speaking about something is the same as working toward it. that this illusion can slow actual effort and reduce the discipline required to bring the vision to life. Come, silence keeps their responsibility personal and the focus sharp. Premature disclosure can also open doors to discouragement. When progress is slower than expected, those who know about the vision may begin to question its validity. Their doubts, whether spoken or implied, can erode confidence. A vision that was once clear can begin to feel heavy and unrealistic simply because it has been exposed to too many opinions before being established. Wisdom understands the importance of timing. There is a season for silence and a season for speech. Knowing the difference is a mark of maturity. Some things are revealed to prepare you, not to announce you. Keeping certain plans and revelations private is not fear, it is foresight. Silence allows vision to grow roots before it is exposed to the winds of attention, expectation, and resistance. Words have the ability to shape environments, influence reactions, and determine the kind of resistance a person encounters, which is why careless speech can attract unnecessary opposition and spiritual warfare. Many people assume that every battle they face is unavoidable or divinely assigned. Yet a significant number of conflicts are self-initiated through what is spoken publicly and prematurely. When words are released without discernment, they create visibility, and visibility invites attention. Not all attention is beneficial, especially when strength, maturity, and preparation have not yet caught up. Exposure. When a person speaks openly about their plans, progress, or spiritual experiences, they often awaken competition where none previously existed. Human nature responds to information with comparison. And comparison quickly turns into rivalry. People who were once neutral may suddenly feel threatened or inferior, leading them to consciously or unconsciously oppose what you represent. This opposition is not always direct. It can appear as subtle resistance, discouragement, or attempts to undermine confidence. Much of this could have been avoided if the information had remained private until the right time. Words also have spiritual implications beyond human reaction. Speech is a form of alignment. It signals what you believe, pursue, and expect when spoken openly. These signals can attract spiritual resistance that you are not yet equipped to handle. Declaring victories before the necessary inner work is done can result in intensified pressure. This is not because speaking is wrong, but because timing and readiness matter. Warfare increases when declaration exceeds capacity. And silence is often the protection that allows capacity to be built quietly. Another way words attract opposition is by provoking unnecessary explanations and defenses. Once something is said, it often demands justification. People will ask questions, challenge motives, and test consistency. Responding to these demands consumes emotional and mental energy. Instead of focusing on growth and preparation, attention shifts toward maintaining an image or defending a statement. Over time, this constant defense weakens resolve and creates exhaustion, making the journey heavier than it needs to be. Careless speech can also expose vulnerabilities. When people talk openly about their fears, struggles, or unfinished processes in the wrong environments, they unintentionally reveal entry points for attack. Some listeners may exploit this information through gossip, manipulation, or judgment. Others may weaponize it during moments of conflict. Silence in sensitive seasons is not isolation. It is wisdom that understands the value of privacy while strength is still forming. In spiritual contexts, opposition often intensifies around visibility rather than value. the more something is announced. Come, the more it becomes a target. Many battles are not fought because of actual impact, but because of perceived potential. Talking about what you are becoming before you have fully become, it can trigger resistance aimed at stopping that future. Silence delays exposure until growth is strong enough to withstand pressure. Words can also create warfare internally. Speaking too much can amplify anxiety, doubt, and fear. When concerns are repeatedly verbalized, they gain weight and influence. Instead of diminishing, they become more real through repetition. This internal conflict weakens focus and creates confusion, making external opposition feel stronger than it actually is. Silence helps contain internal battles until clarity and peace are restored. Another danger is that careless speech can entangle others into conflicts they were never meant to be part of. When plans or struggles are shared too widely, people may take sides, offer unsolicited opinions, or spread incomplete narratives. This multiplies opposition and complicates situations unnecessarily. What could have been resolved quietly becomes public, emotional, and difficult to manage. Wisdom understands that not every fight is assigned. Some battles are avoidable through restraint. Silence reduces visibility, limits interference, and preserves strength. It allows preparation to continue without distraction and prevents the escalation of resistance. When speech is disciplined, opposition is minimized, focus is protected. And warfare is engaged only when necessary and purposeful. The relationship between secrecy, timing, and divine instruction is rooted in the understanding that guidance is often progressive rather than complete. When direction is given, it usually comes in fragments that unfold as obedience and maturity increase. Secrecy plays a critical role in this process because it protects the unfolding from interruption. When instructions are kept private, the heart remains focused on obedience rather than on explaining or defending what has been received. This allows timing to be respected, which is essential because instruction that is acted upon too early or too late can produce outcomes that differ from the original intention. Divine timing is rarely aligned with human impatience. There is often a gap between instruction and manifestation, and that gap is intentional. It is within that space that preparation occurs, character is refined, and capacity is built. Secrecy helps maintain alignment during this waiting period. When instructions are shared prematurely, external opinions can influence decisions and pressure individuals into acting outside of the intended time frame. What was meant to be accomplished through careful obedience becomes rushed through human urgency. Secrecy also sharpens sensitivity to further instruction. When too many voices are involved, it becomes difficult to distinguish between what was divinely prompted and what was suggested by others. Silence limits interference and keeps the channel of guidance clear. As a result, additional direction can be received with clarity rather than confusion. This is important because initial instruction is often only a foundation, not the full blueprint. Continued guidance depends on maintaining focus and humility, both of which are strengthened through discretion. Timing is also connected to readiness, not just opportunity. Being in the right place at the wrong time can be as damaging as being in the wrong place altogether. Secrecy allows readiness to develop without pressure. When people know what you are preparing for, they may expect visible progress before the inner work is complete. This expectation can distort priorities, causing individuals to prioritize appearance over substance. Come. Keeping instructions private removes this pressure and allows growth to occur authentically. Come. Another aspect of this relationship is protection. Certain instructions are not meant to be tested in public environments. Come. Early exposure can invite opposition, misunderstanding, or distraction that interferes with obedience. Secrecy creates a safe space where mistakes can be corrected and adjustments can be made without public consequences. This does not mean isolation from accountability, but it emphasizes selective disclosure to those who are aligned and trusted. Secrecy also trains trust. Following instruction without immediate validation requires confidence in the source of guidance rather than in public approval. This trust deepens dependence on divine leading rather than on external affirmation. When results are not immediately visible, silence helps sustain commitment because the focus remains on obedience rather than recognition. Over time, this builds a strong internal compass that is less vulnerable to discouragement or distraction. Timing is further revealed through sustained silence. When people speak too early, they often feel obligated to act to maintain consistency with what was said. This obligation can override discernment. Silence preserves flexibility, allowing adjustments as further instruction is received. This adaptability is crucial because guidance often evolves as circumstances change and understanding deepens. The relationship between secrecy, timing, and instruction ultimately emphasizes wisdom over impulse. It recognizes that not every directive is meant for immediate action and not every revelation is meant for public knowledge. Secrecy preserves timing, timing safeguards instruction. An instruction fulfilled in the right season produces outcomes that are both effective and enduring. Learning discernment, knowing what to say, when to say it, and to whom, is a critical skill that separates wisdom from mere knowledge. Discernment is not silence at all times, but intelligent restraint guided by awareness and understanding. Many problems arise not because people speak wrongly, but because they speak rightly at the wrong time or to the wrong audience. Truth without discernment can become harmful, misunderstood, or even destructive when it is released without consideration of context and capacity. Not every listener has the emotional, spiritual, or mental readiness to handle certain information. Discernment evaluates the ability of the hearer before releasing words. Some people will misuse information out of ignorance, others out of insecurity, and some out of jealousy. Speaking without considering this reality exposes valuable insight to environments that cannot sustain it. Wisdom does not broadcast, it selects. It understands that access must be earned, not assumed. Timing is equally important. There are moments when speaking too early disrupts processes that are still forming. At such stages, silence is not avoidance but protection. Discernment recognizes seasons and understands that timing affects impact. A word spoken at the wrong time can lose its power or even produce resistance. The same statement that would inspire at the right moment can provoke hostility when released prematurely. Discernment reads the atmosphere before opening the mouth. Knowing when to speak also requires emotional mastery. Many words are released in response to provocation, frustration, or the desire to be understood. Discernment pauses before reacting. It distinguishes between the urge to speak and the need to speak. This pause prevents regret and preserves dignity. Those who master this restraint often appear calm and composed because their speech is not driven by emotion but by intention. Knowing whom to speak to is another dimension of discernment. Some conversations require wisdom rather than transparency. While honesty is valuable, indiscriminate openness can be dangerous. Discernment differentiates between safe and unsafe spaces. It identifies individuals who are aligned, mature, calm, and trustworthy. Sharing sensitive information with the wrong people can lead to betrayal, misunderstanding, or unnecessary exposure. Discernment limits vulnerability to those who have proven character. Discernment also protects relationships. Many conflicts escalate because information is shared in the wrong setting or with the wrong tone. A truth that could have healed privately becomes harmful when shared publicly. Discernment values restoration over expression. It asks whether words will build or break, heal or harm. This awareness prevents damage that may take years to repair. Another aspect of discernment is recognizing when silence speaks louder than words. There are situations where explanation weakens authority and restraint strengthens it. Responding to every accusation or misunderstanding can give unnecessary weight to false narratives. Their discernment chooses silence when speaking would amplify negativity. It understands that some issues resolve themselves when not fueled by reaction. Discernment also develops through experience and humility. It requires the willingness to learn from past mistakes and the courage to admit when silence would have been better. Over time, this awareness becomes instinctive. Speech becomes measured, purposeful, and impactful. People begin to trust and respect those whose words are rare but meaningful. Learning discernment is ultimately about stewardship. Words are resources, and how they are used determines their effectiveness. Saying less, but saying it well multiplies influence. Discernment ensures that words are released in alignment with purpose, timing, and audience, allowing communication to produce clarity rather than confusion and progress rather than damage. Silence as a sign of maturity, strength, and trusting God is often misunderstood because many associate power with loudness and visibility. In reality, the ability to remain silent, especially when one has the right to speak, reveals a depth of character that noise cannot imitate. Maturity is shown not by how quickly a person responds, but by how wisely they choose their responses. A mature person understands that not every situation demands a verbal reaction, and that restraint can communicate confidence more effectively than constant explanation. Strength is often revealed through control. Just as physical strength is demonstrated by the ability to hold weight steady rather than throwing it around, inner strength is shown through the ability to govern one's tongue. Silence requires discipline because it resists the natural impulse to defend, explain, or assert oneself. It takes far more strength to remain quiet under pressure than to react emotionally. Those who lack strength often feel compelled to speak immediately because silence feels like loss of control, while those who are strong are comfortable waiting. Silence also reflects trust in God rather than trust in self. When people speak excessively, they are often attempting to manage outcomes, shape perceptions, or secure validation. Silence, on the other hand, releases control. It acknowledges that outcomes do not depend solely on human explanation or defense. Trusting God means believing that truth does not need constant reinforcement and that integrity will eventually be evident without excessive self-promotion. Maturity understands that silence is not passive resignation, but active confidence. It is the assurance that what is being built internally does not need immediate external affirmation. This confidence allows individuals to withstand misunderstanding without panic. They do not feel threatened by temporary misjudgment because they are anchored in a deeper sense of identity and purpose. Silence becomes a refuge where insecurity cannot thrive. Silence also prevents emotional leakage. Immature responses often arise from unprocessed feelings such as anger, fear, or pride. Speaking in these moments usually results in words that must later be regretted or repaired. Maturity allows space for emotions to settle before words are released. This pause transforms reactions into responses. Over time, this discipline builds a reputation for stability and wisdom, as people learn that such individuals speak thoughtfully rather than impulsively. Trusting God is further revealed when silence replaces retaliation. Many feel obligated to correct every false narrative or confront every injustice immediately. While there are moments when speaking up is necessary, maturity discerns when silence allows God to work without interference. Restraint in such moments reflects belief in divine justice rather than self-defense. It communicates confidence that outcomes are not ultimately decided by public opinion, but by a higher authority. Silence also strengthens inner life. Constant speaking externalizes energy, while silence redirects it inward. This inward focus fosters reflection, prayer, and self-examination. Over time, this deepens spiritual sensitivity and clarity. A quiet spirit becomes less reactive and more discerning. Maturity grows as a person becomes comfortable being alone with their thoughts without the need to fill space with words. Strength is further demonstrated by the ability to endure waiting without complaint. Silence during seasons of delay shows trust in timing rather than impatience. It accepts that growth often happens invisibly and that true development does not require constant announcement. Those who trust God are willing to wait without narrating every step of the process. Ultimately, silence reflects a settled heart. It is the posture of someone who knows they are guided, protected, calm, and sustained beyond their own efforts. This settledness communicates authority without aggression and confidence without noise. Calm silence becomes the language of those who are mature enough to trust that what is meant for them will arrive without force. The explanation or hurry. In a world that celebrates constant expression, true wisdom is revealed through restraint, learning to keep secrets, mastering silence, and guarding one's words are not signs of fear or weakness, but evidence of maturity, strength, and deep trust in God. Silence protects vision, preserves timing, limits unnecessary opposition. And keeps the heart aligned with divine instruction. It trains discernment, conserves spiritual energy, and allows growth to happen without pressure or interference. That those who speak less but live intentionally develop authority that does not need to announce itself. When silence is practiced with understanding, words regain their power and purpose. The disciplined mouth becomes a safeguard for destiny, ensuring that what is meant to last is built quietly, released wisely, and revealed only in the right season.